Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for Equidox AI, a fully automated PDF remediation solution. We're very excited about this cutting-edge technology that is solving for challenges within the healthcare and healthcare insurance provider industries. By way of introduction, my name is Paul Campbell, and I will be joined by Dan Tilletta for the next 30 minutes. If you have questions during the webinar today, please drop them in the Q&A chat button at the bottom of the screen, and we will get back to you with an answer. Additionally, this webinar will be recorded and will be sent after the meeting in addition to the deck and a short survey. We're happy to do a more direct interactive session with you and your other team members if they're not able to join here today. And obviously further our conversations as to how Equidox AI may be a fit for your organization specifically. So we look forward to that follow-up with you. An overview of the agenda for today. First of all, we'll talk a little bit about Equidox Software Company, who we are, where we've been, and where we're going as an organization in helping the industry as it relates to PDF remediation. The challenges that we've seen in the healthcare market and our solution to the problem. Then Dan's going to take over and talk about why do we make PDFs accessible, and followed by an overview of Equidox AI, how it works, and finally a demonstration. So Equidox has been in existence for nearly a decade now, way back when a Canadian citizen was trying to apply for a government job posting on the internet. But unfortunately, she was unable to because of her visual disability. She sued the government, Canada, and won her case. And the government sought out a solution to accommodate, but they couldn't find one. So they asked the marketplace to respond. And hence why we started building a solution and really have not stopped innovating ever since. We originally created a robust software as a service or SaaS solution, and now hundreds of customers currently use our SaaS product. The solution is world-class and is adding tremendous value to the marketplace of digital accessibility for enterprise organizations, government organizations, and educational institutions. And our customers love our SaaS product, evidenced by the fact that we're nearly, renewing 100% of our customer base, with their subscription every year. So this is all well and good, and there's a lot of, efficiencies that our software as a service product provides to the market to help with, some of the cumbersome challenges with PDF remediation. But we started hearing from organizations that had tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of documents and/or pages that needed to be remediated. And, there wasn't an automated solution for that daunting, need. And, some of the manual process for that are just too overwhelming. The traditional service providers were sending the documents to India and other countries, but there was no efficient way to scale. So companies were forced to settle for a solution that is time consuming, expensive, and doesn't truly mitigate the risk of a lawsuit. So enter Equidox AI. And Equidox AI, was built because of some of these scaling challenges that our software solution, as a software as a service solution, doesn't accommodate, for documents of scale and repetitive nature. Our Equidox AI solution is a fully automated remediation solution that removes the traditional manual remediation methods and auto tagging methods, while still increasing the quality, accuracy, and compliance. Equidox AI is utilized for use cases where there are templated, reoccurring, and large volumes of documents in scope. We have found that the healthcare industry get the most value out of Equidox AI, and this is really because of a few reasons. Section 508 compliance mandates. Number two, large quantities of templated and reoccurring documents that consistently need to be accessible because of these compliance requirements in this industry. And the challenges with the current processes that organizations deal with, the quality or lack thereof, the speed that's required, and just overall vendor sprawl and accommodating PDF remediation at this scale. So some of the use cases may include, but are not limited to, and that you may be familiar with, physician directories, explanation of benefits, digital ID cards, invoices, statements, etc. Now, these are all great candidates for Equidox AI because of the high volume, repetitive, and templated nature that these pose. So, what we found is that there really is three main, challenges for healthcare organizations when it comes to PDF remediation that we have found. And number one is costs. Multiple vendors, outsourced providers, and investment in internal personnel, for organizations is very costly. And it can really be a runaway train of costs because of the industry standard price per page, is exponential, and the manual work to this capacity is just very expensive. Quality, because of the cumbersome manual processing and the auto tagging, mishaps and issues, multiplied by the volumes of pages in scope and complexities, it really leaves organizations exposed to non-compliance and lawsuits because of these elements. And lastly, the speed, the demanding legal requirements and quick turnaround times to get accessible information to customers consistently is not realistic to accommodate with the traditional manual processes and auto tagging methods because of the volumes to manage when coupled with the quality that the 508 compliance requires. So, because of these things, we wanted to create a better way to solve for these challenges, and we did. And our experts, our data scientists, developers, our remediation experts, have found a way to truly automate the PDF accessibility process for many of the healthcare use cases involving high volumes of documents and pages. Equidox AI automation allows good quality, usability, and compliance every single time because of our unique model creation, which Dan will get into here shortly. We don't auto tag or cut any corners or rely on the human element to get the process done. Equidox AI automation also accommodates aggressive timelines because we're relying on technology to accommodate this. We can dictate how fast the solution runs and turn the dial up or down, so to speak, to accommodate timelines that may be required for any organization. And lastly, Equidox AI automation allows for lower costs, process improvements, and vendor consolidation, because again, we're relying on the technology to accommodate these types of things. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Dan to talk about why it's important to make PDFs accessible, and how Equidox AI works, and finally a demonstration of our solution. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Paul. Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to get started by talking about why we are making PDFs accessible. So I assume that most people on this call are probably somewhat familiar with accessibility laws, such as the ADA, Section 508, the Affordable Care Act, so on and so forth. I am not a lawyer, so I am not going to go into all of the details of these laws, but at a high level, just as there are requirements to provide physical access like wheelchair ramps, elevators, and braille signage, organizations also need to ensure that their public-facing digital content, including PDFs, is accessible to everyone, including people with disabilities. Ignoring the accessibility of your digital content opens up your organization to legal risks. There have been thousands of organizations who learned this the hard way when they were sued for exactly this type of problem. And there are thousands more who quietly pay large settlements, but they still have to ultimately go back and fix their accessibility deficiencies. So long story short, we live in a digital world and we rely so heavily on digital information. So digital accessibility is not a fad. It is not going to go away anytime soon. So it's always good to be aware of it and address it in a proactive way. So for anyone who is unsure of why any of this digital accessibility stuff matters, people with disabilities use various types of assistive technologies to interact with digital content like a PDF. A very common type of assistive technology is called a screen reader, which is capable of reading digital content like websites, applications, and documents. Screen readers use what are called digital tags to navigate documents. And these tags need to be properly encoded into a document to organize the content and make it compatible with the screen reader. So think of the tags as a framework of the document, which gives the screen reader user the ability to navigate and interact with all of the various elements in the PDF. Equidox, in cooperation with the National Federation of the Blind, we surveyed a couple hundred, about 250 blind and low vision individuals who rely on screen readers to interact with their PDFs every single day. Based on this survey, we found that at least two-thirds of PDF documents are inaccessible to people with disabilities. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a blind person, you can quickly imagine how frustrated you would be if you could not read two-thirds of the documents that you came in contact with on a daily basis. On top of that, imagine the potential privacy issues if you have to ask your neighbor to help you read private documents like an insurance statement or an invoice or test results. It would be very frustrating if you had to do that on a regular basis. To further emphasize the points I was making a couple of slides ago, here are some additional information about the volumes and the types of lawsuits that the healthcare and insurance sectors have faced and will continue to face moving forward. So, just to reiterate, the digital accessibility requirements that organizations must adhere to are not going away, and there will continue to be an increase in the attention that is paid to it by state and federal mandates, the DOJ, disability advocacy groups, and individuals who simply want to be able to access their critical information. One of the main challenges around PDF accessibility is that each PDF document is unique. We have heard a lot of empty promises from companies saying that they're able to fully automate PDF accessibility, but there are so many things about PDFs that require human interpretation to decide how to tag specific elements within the content. I have been working in the PDF accessibility market for over 7 years, and I have seen a lot of organizations assume that they have accessible documents because their documents have some tags. But they quickly learn that they are not usable or compliant, and they are still open to litigation. So beware of the auto tagging technology that masks itself as a solution to fully automated PDF accessibility. Auto taggers are capable of putting tags on a page, but there will always be accuracy issues, and the inaccuracy of those tags will lead to a lot of confusion and frustration for a screen reader user. Additionally, auto taggers can and will leave an organization open to further litigation because there is no guarantee of compliance with WCAG standards. So even paying to outsource your huge batches of documents to companies that provide auto tagging technology, you are not mitigating your risk of litigation because auto tagging falls well short of true compliance with accessibility standards. The alternative of outsourcing the remediation work to third parties who are almost exclusively located overseas introduces a mountain of data privacy issues. And even if you can work around that, the sheer volume is impossible to keep up with. These outsourced remediation providers will cut corners and do the bare minimum amount of work to make the document pass an automated checker, but not actually make the document compliant because it simply takes too long and the deadlines are too aggressive. So, incorporating artificial intelligence, more specifically computer vision and machine learning, into high volume PDF remediation allows our accessibility experts to train an AI model to accurately identify and tag all of the elements in the document template. The use of AI developed by our data scientists, paired with the human element of our trained accessibility experts, allows for incredibly accurate, usable, and compliant PDFs to be returned to the customer in a fraction of the time. This is because AI works exponentially faster than humans manually tagging each element on the page. AI doesn't need to take vacations. AI can work 24/7, 365. It doesn't need breaks, and it doesn't need to cut corners to meet a deadline. AI can truly do it the right way at the same speed. So, how does all of this work? Our accessibility experts take example documents of customer templates to properly identify the various elements on the page. These elements might include text and paragraph structure, various levels of headings, lists and tables, graphs and images, and the all-important reading order of the content. This training data is then fed to the AI models to apply what it has learned in mass to many thousands or even millions of pages that have similar templates and formatting. Although the mechanics of how AI technology works is rather abstract and much more complicated than what I am capable of showing you on a PowerPoint slide, here are a few examples of how we can visualize the AI at work. In this scatter plot, each of the green dots represents a page in a PDF, and they are grouped together based on similarities that the computer vision finds within that page. So this cluster that we can see on the slide will contain all of the pages in these documents that have a pie chart. In this example, you can see there are different multi-column text layouts that the AI will use to recognize different pages and group them together appropriately. The AI will also pick up on font styles, sizes, and colors to help establish the tags on the page. We can even train the AI to identify the many potential variations in tables, such as the number of rows and columns, table headers versus table data, and even tables of varying sizes that might span across multiple pages. The result of this extensive document analysis and feeding all of this training data to the AI is creating fully compliant PDF documents without any human remediators, who are expensive to employ or outsource to, and they are, of course, liable to make errors or be forced to cut corners just to meet an unattainable deadline due to the volume demands. We are also reaching full compliance because this is not auto tagging, throwing sloppy tags on a page and saying that it's good enough. Beyond compliance and passing automated checkers, the bonus of using AI for high volume and hyper fast remediation is that it will produce incredibly accurate and very much usable documents for people with disabilities. So, your customers who rely on assistive technology will not be filing complaints or lawsuits or calling your headquarters to complain about a document that they cannot navigate and understand. We are just about ready to jump into the demo here shortly, so the slides will come to an end. But before we do that, I just want to make it clear that this underlying technology can be deployed in several ways to align with your organization's requirements. So what we're going to be showing during the demo is an interface that we have built. So we've built an interface that can allow you or your employees to run this process from start to finish with just a few clicks by uploading the document or multiple documents, running the batch, and downloading the finished PDF. We can also embed the AI models into an existing document creation and delivery system through the use of APIs. This might be critical for customers needing to download their private documents like a monthly statement or an explanation of benefits or medical test results or something like that. Lastly, Equidox can operate the entire process on your behalf as a managed service. We can take care of the remediation as well as the validation to ensure that everything exceeds all accessibility requirements and deliver a fully compliant PDF or multiple PDFs back to your organization to then be posted and distributed. Just one more thing to note, Equidox AI is tagging the PDFs at the post-processing stage, which you will see during the demonstration. So what I mean by that is that these PDFs are already created, and we are applying the accessibility as a final step before they are publicly distributed. The advantage of tagging PDFs post-processing is that we do not have to disrupt or, in probably many cases, completely rebuild your document creation process. So that means your designers and producers of mass documentation can continue their process, and we will handle the accessibility component at the very end of the creation stage, but right before the document reaches your customers. Okay, so I'm going to jump out of the slide deck here, and we will embed the video of the demonstration when we send the slides around. But I'm just going to leave the slide deck, and I'm going to jump over into the Equidox batch interface. So keep in mind that this interface that we have built to demonstrate and visualize how this technology works, but we can deploy it in other ways as previously mentioned. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get started by showing you about a 100-page excerpt of a much longer, about 1,200-page physician's directory. So I'm going to start by going to the Upload Document tab. And if I open up the folders on my hard drive, I'm going to select the document that I want to process today for the demo. So I'm simply going to do a drag and drop into this gray rectangle and hit Upload. So like I said, this is about a 100-page excerpt of a much longer 1,200 plus page directory. We have seen similar examples of directories that exceed 10,000 pages because it simply lists every doctor, hospital, physician, physical therapist, dentist, you name it, whatever that network is covering with whatever's in that provider network. These lists need to constantly be updated and maintained as these providers come and go from the network, or if they change their location and their contact information needs to be updated. So this is a very large document that is almost always changing, and it's a very dynamic type of PDF. The volume of these pages and the recurring nature of these documents being updated monthly or quarterly is overwhelming for a team of human remediators and very expensive to outsource to third parties who are typically charging upwards of $5 a page. And also, the level of complexity of this type of document makes it impossible for auto taggers to accurately define the content groups, the heading structure, the complicated reading orders, cross-page merges, and the application of alt text to images. On top of the length of these documents, many providers have to create these documents in multiple languages, which further complicates the problem. So all of the accessibility work that remediators put into the English version would then have to be repeated for Spanish, French, Mandarin Chinese, Arabic, etc. It is an overwhelming volume and complexity to deal with using the traditional methods. So what I'm going to do now that I've uploaded the document is I would go to the Create and Run Batch tab. Once I'm at the Create Run Batch tab, I'm going to select this drop-down menu where I choose the example model that I want to apply to the document we just uploaded. Once I select a model, all of the documents that I can apply that model to are now available in this list. We, of course, only have one document to work on right now, so I'm just going to hit this check mark and press Run Batch. Now, while I press that Run Batch button, the view of the page changes, and I can see that this is the batch that's currently in process. So we see some basic sort of metadata about the document up here. And down below, we'll notice these green lights that start to kind of pop up. So this is just an indication of where this document is during the stage of the batch. So right now, this document is having the machine learning zones applied to it. So right now, Equidox is processing each unique page, identifying the various elements, and applying the correct zones to organize the content. Once those zones are finished being applied, we will see that it will give us a success, just indicating that it's finished. And then it will move over to the export engine. And again, those green lights will start to light up until eventually the document finishes being processed. So we just keep in mind that we are running this sort of small scale demonstration with not a tremendous amount of resources behind it. The speed that you can increase this to, it really knows no bounds. It's just a matter of what processing power we want to apply, depending on the volume and the repetitive nature of the documents that you're working on. So this is going to take maybe 100 seconds or so to run. But once it does, we'll be able to see a fully tagged document. Now, while we're waiting for it to finish processing, I have this document that we're looking at right now. I have it open in Adobe Acrobat. So this is the document that's currently being processed. And right now, you'll notice that it is not tagged at all. So there are no available tags for this document. But I just want to kind of quickly scroll through a few pages here so you can see what I'm referring to in terms of the complexity of this document. There are complicated headings. So we have a lot of nested heading structure throughout this document where not only the state, but the region within that state, the city within that region, the specific hospital or provider name, and then all of their addresses are all listed in a 3-column format. So this goes on for page after page after page after page. And all of the content in this document needs to be tagged in a specific way so that a screen reader user can efficiently navigate it. Without the proper structure, if you were looking for a provider that might be on page 1136 of this very, very long document, it would be next to impossible to find the contact information for that specific provider. The heading structure and the reading order for documents like this is very, very complicated. And as we said before, it's extremely time consuming for a human to go through and manually identify every heading and set the appropriate reading order for each page. It adds up to countless hours of work. And that's why human remediators are liable to make mistakes because they simply have to cut corners to meet these unattainable deadlines. But without that accuracy, it can render the entire document to be unusable for a screen reader user. And like I said before, this document in many cases is duplicated in different languages. So not only do you have to do it to this English version, but then you got to do it to Spanish and then a Russian version and then a Mandarin Chinese and then an Arabic version. So all of the work that you're applying here, it doesn't automatically carry over to the other languages. You need to go back and revisit the document time and time again. And by the way, these documents are updated in many cases on a monthly basis. So it's just a never ending stream of pages, uh, literally hundreds of thousands or even millions of pages per year of documents that look exactly like this. They're not all identical. You can't auto tag it, but they are similar enough that we can train AI to really assist us in this process. So if I go back to the batch interface here, we can see that the green lights have all lit up and we have a success. So if I go to the completed file drop-down menu, and let me just open this up, I'll download it and I'll save this one to my desktop. And if I go to my desktop, we will find this is the document that I just created. This document here, whereas before underneath the accessibility tags, we had no tags available. This document here, though, is fully tagged. So if you can see that we can tab through, and you'll notice that, first of all, the state of Iowa is tagged as a heading level 2. The region within Iowa is tagged as an H3. The city within Iowa is tagged as an H4, and then the name of the clinic is tagged as an H5. The subsequent contact information is tagged as a paragraph, on and on and on. You'll notice that this is fully accurate, full respect of the 3-column reading order. All of this information is organized exactly as it should be. And me, a human remediator, didn't have to go through and touch this document page by page, line by line, tag by tag, which would literally take me hours, if not days. And there's many, many more documents just like this. So this is really what we're trying to accomplish with Equidox AI, to not only make a compliant document that will keep your organization out of the courtroom, but also a document that is fully usable for those screen reader users who can now quickly and efficiently find the specific provider that they're looking for. So with that said, just in the interest of time here, we will jump back into the slide deck just to kind of wrap things up. So as Paul mentioned before, we will be passing around this slide deck, and this is just a list of relevant articles. So if you want to learn a bit more about digital accessibility and specifically how it relates to PDF documents, feel free to browse these articles. And in conclusion, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here today. We hope that you all see the value and the capabilities of this technology. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us for more of a one-on-one consultation so that we can discuss your organization's unique use cases and how Equidox AI can be applied to them. Also, again, we will be sending the recording of this, so feel free to share this with anyone within your organization who might benefit from learning a bit more about Equidox AI. We will include a link to the slide deck, and for anyone who asked a question using the Q&A feature, we will respond to you, and we will get you responses as quickly as we can. So if anything wasn't answered live, we will get to it right after the call. Lastly, there will be a short survey sent around, so if you don't mind just taking a moment to fill that out, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you again, everyone, for joining, and have a great rest of your day. For more information about how Equidox Software Company can help you with PDF accessibility, email us at equidoxsales@equidox.co or give us a call at 216-529-3030 or visit our website at www.equidox.co.